The investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance continues to develop as authorities review a large volume of evidence collected from multiple sources. Recent discussions have focused on previously collected footage and data that may provide additional insight into the timeline and movements surrounding the incident. Nancy Guthrie was last seen returning to her residence in the Catalina foothills after being dropped off by a rideshare service. That trip may contain more than just a record of transportation. Depending on the vehicle used, there could be data such as GPS tracking, camera footage, and logs showing stops, movement, or door activity. These details could help investigators better understand what occurred before she entered her home. Evidence suggests that an unidentified individual had visited the property on multiple occasions prior to the disappearance. Surveillance footage from January 11th, January 20th, and January 30th appears to show the same person near the residence. This pattern indicates possible prior observation of the home. Investigators are working within a defined time frame. Key events include the suspect being near the residence around 1:27 a.m. and the disconnection of Nancy's pacemaker from her Apple Watch at approximately 2:29 a.m. This window is central to determining how the incident unfolded. Despite extensive surveillance coverage in surrounding areas, no vehicle has been publicly identified in connection with the case. Authorities have collected footage from residential, commercial, and public cameras, but reviewing this material is a time-intensive process. The focus remains on identifying any vehicle that appears in relevant locations during the critical time period, as well as during earlier dates linked to the suspect's visits. Geography may play a role in the lack of clear vehicle evidence. The Catalina foothills area includes open desert and non-grid roadways, allowing for routes that may avoid common surveillance points. This could explain how a vehicle entered and exited the area without being clearly captured. Additional analysis has also considered a potential route mapped early in the investigation by Nancy's daughter. This route passes locations such as nearby schools and businesses that may have camera coverage. Some footage from these areas has already been reviewed, while other portions may still be under examination. In parallel, investigators may also analyze vehicle data from individuals connected to the case, including trip logs or onboard system records where available. Such data can help confirm movements or rule out possibilities. Comparisons to other criminal investigations highlight the importance of identifying a vehicle. In many cases, a vehicle captured on camera becomes a key element that leads to further breakthroughs. Investigators in this case are applying similar methods by reviewing footage across multiple dates and locations. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, continue to manage the investigation. Not all findings are released publicly, as some information may be withheld for investigative or legal reasons. The absence of public updates does not necessarily indicate a lack of progress. The case remains active. Authorities continue to review evidence, including video footage, digital data, and physical findings. The goal is to identify any detail that can clarify what happened and lead to those responsible. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. Anyone with relevant information is encouraged to contact the FBI tip line or submit information through official channels. This summary is based on publicly available information and is intended for general awareness. It does not represent official conclusions, and all individuals are presumed innocent unless proven otherwise. As the investigation progresses, one of the most significant challenges remains the sheer volume of information that must be processed. Law enforcement agencies are working through thousands of hours of surveillance footage collected from a wide network of sources. These include residential doorbell cameras, commercial security systems, traffic monitoring cameras, and potentially data from private vehicles. Each source represents a piece of a much larger puzzle, and even a single overlooked detail could prove critical. The review process itself is methodical. Analysts must examine footage frame by frame, often under varying lighting conditions, and identify any anomalies. This includes vehicles moving at unusual hours, individuals appearing in unexpected locations, or repeated patterns that align with known timelines. Given the early morning time frame in which the incident occurred, traffic would have been minimal, theoretically making unusual activity easier to detect. However, low traffic also means fewer data points, which can complicate efforts to establish patterns. A key focus remains the identification of a vehicle connected to the suspect. In many criminal investigations, vehicles serve as a central link between locations, timelines, and individuals. Even when suspects attempt to avoid detection, vehicles often leave traces, whether through direct camera capture, reflections in windows, or indirect indicators such as tire tracks or sound recordings. In this case, the absence of a clearly identified vehicle has raised questions, but it has not eliminated the possibility that such evidence exists within the data already collected. Investigators are also examining the possibility that the suspect conducted extensive planning prior to the incident. The repeated appearances near the residence on multiple dates suggest familiarity with the area and potentially with the victim's routine. This level of preparation may have included identifying blind spots in camera coverage, selecting routes with minimal surveillance, and choosing a time frame with limited activity. Such behavior would indicate a deliberate effort to reduce the likelihood of detection. At the same time, there are elements that remain uncertain. For example, while only one individual has been captured in the available footage, it is not possible to conclusively determine whether others were involved. An accomplice could have remained outside the range of cameras or participated in a limited capacity that did not require direct presence at the residence. Alternatively, the individual seen in the footage may have acted alone, relying on preparation rather than assistance. The analysis of digital evidence extends beyond video footage. Devices such as smartphones, wearable technology, and connected home systems can provide valuable data. In this case, the disconnection of Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker from her Apple Watch at approximately 2:29 a.m. represents a critical data point. This timestamp helps define the window during which the incident occurred and may assist in correlating other pieces of evidence such as camera activity or network logs. Rideshare data is another important component. The vehicle that transported Nancy home may contain logs detailing the route taken, the duration of the trip, and any stops along the way. If the vehicle was equipped with cameras, there may also be visual records of the surrounding environment during the drive. This could include parked vehicles, individuals in the vicinity, or other details that might not have been considered significant at the time, but could now provide context. In addition to technological evidence, investigators often rely on geographic analysis. The layout of the Catalina foothills area presents both challenges and opportunities. The combination of residential neighborhoods, commercial zones, and open desert creates a complex environment in which movement can occur through both conventional roads and less structured pathways. A suspect familiar with the area could use this terrain to their advantage, selecting routes that minimize exposure to cameras while still allowing efficient travel. The route map initially shared by Nancy's daughter remains a point of consideration. While it may not represent the exact path taken, it highlights key locations where surveillance coverage is likely. Schools, businesses, and intersections typically maintain some form of camera system, and even partial footage from these locations can contribute to a broader understanding of movement patterns. Revisiting these areas with updated analysis techniques may yield new insights. Another aspect under review is the timeline of the suspect's prior visits. By examining footage from January 11th, January 20th, and January 30th, investigators can look for consistent behaviors. This might include the time of arrival, duration of stay, approach routes, and departure patterns. If a vehicle is associated with these visits, identifying it across multiple dates could significantly narrow the scope of the investigation. The absence of a public breakthrough does not necessarily indicate a lack of progress. In many cases, law enforcement agencies withhold information to preserve the integrity of the investigation. Releasing certain details prematurely can compromise potential leads or influence witness statements. As a result, the public narrative may not fully reflect the current state of the case. At the administrative level, there are also developments that intersect with the investigation. Oversight bodies have requested formal responses regarding the handling of the case, and procedural questions have been raised about compliance with reporting requirements. While these matters are separate from the search for Nancy Guthrie, they can influence public perception and the overall transparency of the investigative process. Community involvement continues to play a role. Neighbors, local businesses, and individuals in the surrounding area may possess information that has not yet been reported. Even details that seem minor, such as an unfamiliar vehicle or unusual activity on a specific date, can become significant when combined with other evidence. Public awareness efforts aim to encourage the sharing of such information through official channels. The financial reward associated with the case has also increased, reflecting the urgency of finding answers. Incentives can sometimes prompt individuals to come forward with information they might otherwise hesitate to share. However, tips must still be carefully evaluated and corroborated to ensure their reliability. As time passes, the investigation enters a phase where both persistence and adaptability are required. New technologies, analytical methods, and perspectives can be applied to existing evidence. What may not have been apparent during initial reviews can become clearer when examined under different conditions or with improved tools. Historical comparisons to other cases demonstrate that breakthroughs can occur long after the initial incident. In some instances, a single piece of evidence, such as a vehicle captured in the background of unrelated footage, has led to significant developments. In others, advancements in forensic analysis have provided new avenues for investigation. These examples highlight the importance of maintaining a comprehensive and organized approach to evidence management. In this case, the combination of digital data, Physical evidence and witness information creates a multifaceted investigative landscape. Each component must be considered both independently and in relation to others. Establishing connections between seemingly unrelated details is often the key to building a coherent understanding of events. The role of federal agencies, including the FBI, introduces additional resources and expertise. These organizations can provide specialized capabilities such as advanced forensic analysis, data processing, and interagency coordination. Their involvement also reflects the seriousness of the case and the commitment to pursuing all available leads. Despite the complexity of the investigation, the central objective remains clear: to determine what happened to Nancy Guthrie and to identify those responsible. Every piece of evidence, whether large or small, contributes to this goal. The process may be gradual, but it is structured to ensure accuracy and accountability. At this stage, it is important to recognize the distinction between confirmed information and speculation. While various theories may circulate, only evidence that has been verified through investigative procedures can be considered reliable. Maintaining this distinction helps prevent misinformation and supports the integrity of the case. The continued review of surveillance footage remains one of the most resource-intensive aspects of the investigation. Advances in technology, such as automated recognition systems, may assist in identifying patterns or objects within large datasets. However, human analysis remains essential for interpreting context and making informed judgments. In parallel, forensic examination of the crime scene and related evidence continues to provide insights. DNA analysis, for example, can help identify or exclude individuals, even if results are not immediately conclusive. As databases expand and techniques improve, previously unidentifiable samples may yield new information. Communication between agencies and with the public is also an ongoing process. Updates are typically released when they meet specific criteria, such as confirming a new development or requesting assistance. While this approach may limit the frequency of public information, it is intended to ensure that what is shared is accurate and useful. The case remains active, and efforts to locate Nancy Guthrie continue. Investigators are working across multiple domains, combining traditional methods with modern technology to analyze evidence and pursue leads. The outcome of these efforts will depend on the ability to integrate information from diverse sources and to remain attentive to details that may initially appear insignificant. Nancy Guthrie's disappearance has had a significant impact on her family and community. The search for answers is driven not only by investigative procedure but also by the need for resolution. As the process continues, the focus remains on gathering reliable information, following evidence-based leads, and maintaining a structured approach to uncovering the truth. Anyone with information related to the case is encouraged to contact the appropriate authorities. Even small details can contribute to the broader understanding of events. The investigation is ongoing, and every contribution has the potential to assist in achieving a resolution.